Welcome to another episode of Sneaks, Rounds, and Life. I am your host, Lionel McDonald. So, special guest that we have all the way from the ODOT. For those that don't know, that's Ottawa, in Ontario, the nation's capital here in Canada. So, our guest is Elberlyn, otherwise known as LB. She is sneakerhead. She is a rap artist. So, LB, what's good? How you doing?
I'm great.
All
Hello,
right.
hello.
So we're going to talk about a bunch of different things that are out there. So just to give you all a background story, so I ended up connecting with LB because her and I both work for the same company, and I end up hearing about all these amazing things she's doing, when in hip hop and obviously working at the company that I work for. She's a sneakerhead, so maybe you could share with us your early days of hip hop and how you kind of connected with the culture.
All right. So I've definitely been passionate about rap music, hip hop music, probably since I was about 8 or 10, like pretty young, pretty young. Um, Definitely always on my playlist, like just something about like the lyricism and how dynamic hip hop is. Like it can really mold and fit like however you're feeling. There's always like a different artist or a different style of hip hop that you can listen to that can really speak to like whatever you're going through in different stages of your life. So I think it's really grown with me throughout my life, and I really appreciate that for being a part of it. Um, it started like I started making music when I was about 15.
Mhm.
I was kind of going through like a bit of a rough patch when I was in my like early teens. And music was kind of like my outlet, to just kind of get my thoughts out in like a positive way and like get myself out and doing things around the community. So started doing performances with this guy named Justin Holness, Jack Coda. He's kind of like my hip hop mentor, I guess.
We all need
Um,
one.
yeah, exactly, exactly. He's he's Jamaican and indigenous. I'm also indigenous, so we met at like a Native community center
Hmm.
here in the city. And yeah, he basically was just like, "Hey, like you're young, but like you have this passion, like you should really just follow it." And he provided me with like some studio equipment and just kind of got the ball rolling with that. Yeah, it got me a bunch of shows, and it just kind of like took off from there and grew into what it is today. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, I don't know much about the scene in Ottawa. From a hip hop standpoint, what's it like?
So the hip hop scene in Ottawa is very interesting, I would say. It's very like it has a lot of subgroups.
Hmm.
Like I'd say it's a little bit less prominent maybe than somewhere like Toronto or Montreal just because it is a smaller city. But like there's so much room for like that creativity to flourish at the same time because it's kind of like a new art scene, I would say, in this city. It's like still kind of finding its way and developing into something bigger. So that's super inspiring, I would say. And I think a lot of artists in the city would probably agree with that, that like there's this kind of gap that provides a lot of opportunities for people and a lot of opportunities for like different sounds too, because there's not a lot to go off of. So you can
Yeah.
really experiment and like create something new.
Okay. Real cool. Real
Yeah.
cool. So, again, obviously you mentioned your hip hop mentor, but is there maybe on a more of a global scale, is there someone that's really influenced you or a few artists that you've kind of wouldn't say, patterned yourself off, but really just have inspired you again to get in the booth and do your thing?
For sure. There's a lot, to be honest. Like life inspires me. A lot of people outside of hip hop even inspire me. Um, but a couple of people in hip hop that have inspired me would be Mac Miller for sure.
Hmm.
Just because there was like a certain mixtape that he dropped called Macadelic,
Yep.
back when I was first starting out, and like that kind of spoke to a lot of things that I was going through, and it was a very different because it was like a collab kind of mixed genre, like psychedelic and rap. And I kind of found that super interesting because I was interested in like alternative music at the time as well. So it kind of just met both worlds together. Um, and it really like it helped me through like a lot of hard times. So that he was definitely became like a big inspiration for me. Um, Also just his like versatility with like different styles of rap and different flows and like experimenting with musical instruments as well, and like being really open to having musical instruments incorporated into the music as well versus just like sounds on a MIDI kind of thing.
Yep.
Which is super cool about him for sure. Um, who else? Definitely like well, Rihanna is one of my really big inspirations. She's
Okay.
like not necessarily hip hop, but like I'm also R&B kind of like to sing too. So
Yep.
Rihanna has definitely been, and she's just amazing. Like she's like an incredible businesswoman, entrepreneur too. So like that side of her and the whole fashion thing really inspires me as well. So
Hmm.
she's a super big icon for me for sure.
Yeah, those are a couple good ones for sure. So
Yeah, yeah.
so we know that you I started to look up some of your music when I was just like, what? Wait, LB's a rapper? Like, are you kidding me? So I started looking, and it's like I was so impressed to hear some of the things you've done, the couple EPs that you've been a part of, and then obviously you've done a couple singles this year. So, and I know you do. I'll let you talk about in a second about what you dropped just on Friday. But
Mhm.
what does the creative process look like? Like, how do you decide that, okay, I'm going to write something or I'm going to start to put together? Like, what does that look like?
It kind of depends. Like I like my creative process to be like as natural and like kind of just fluid as possible. Like I never try and force anything. I just kind of let myself like go through my day to day and do what I like to do during the day. And then if there's a moment where I just get inspired from something, it could be just like going for a walk and like I see something that kind of triggers a thought, or I have an idea, or even just like certain words. A lot of times like I'll hear a word, I'm like, whoa, like that word is really like it needs to be explained somehow, like
Hmm.
words just really inspire me. And the titles of instrumentals, it's like kind of a weird thing, but like my producer will send me an instrumental, and Surreal is actually an example, like the single I just dropped.
Yeah.
The beat was titled Surreal. So I was like, wow, like that's a cool title for a beat. Like I started thinking about what that word means to me, and like what that how that word could be explained in a song, because it's kind of a concept that isn't really touched on like too often. And
Yep.
I was just yeah, so definitely words, like words and
Yeah.
titles of things definitely inspire me.
Yeah, the word surreal is so a multi-layered word that you
Yes,
can go in
yes.
and talk about, and you definitely hear about it in the song you did. So tell us
Mhm.
about the release, what you've most recently put out, and then yeah, maybe you could share what you may be working on in the next little bit. Is there any more collaborations you're planning to do? Are you planning to do an EP or an LP? Give us the juice.
All right. So with Surreal specifically, um, I kind of just really, like you said, like super multi-layered. So I dove into all those layers and kind of like dissected what I really wanted to explain about life just being surreal. Because to me, life just is surreal. Like anything can happen, like any path can lead to another path. Like you never really know like what you're walking into on a day, but it's also kind of your choice, whichever way you go. Um, but yeah, and I was thinking a lot about like my like indigenous heritage and like some of the like struggles and like how surreal that is in a lot of like indigenous communities. um that was also a big influence for me because I did a bunch of performances and tours up north in Nunavut and Nunavut. So a lot of the living conditions that I saw up there were like very surreal, um in some negative conditions, but also the beauty of the land was like so overwhelming too. That was also very surreal. So just all this like contrasting like
Mhm.
concepts, um and just, like going through your day to day and just like realizing like, wow, like I'm really at this point in my life, like this is what I built for myself, like sometimes when you look back on it, like you just pat yourself on the back and you're like, wow, like this is where we are, man, like we did this. um so I think that's really important, like just as an individual, to just celebrate your own like victories, and like just be very aware of your own surroundings, and like um treat every moment as like special, I guess. So it's kind of what that song means to me.
Yeah, no, that's total
Yeah.
great explanation. You talked about so much there. I'm just like, whoa, okay, now
Yeah.
I kind of get the vibe of this
It's a
track.
lot.
And yeah, all right. So
Yeah.
what do you think you want to do next? Like, do you think you'll do an EP or or a full length LP?
So to be honest, I was kind of looking at like some analytics and like marketing kind of stuff, and like noticing like people are kind of going away from listening to full length albums and stuff like that. So originally Surreal, the other song I dropped, Never Lost, and then I have two or three more that were all going to be on an EP, but I actually separated them all. So I have two or three more that I should be dropping fairly soon. Um, Also as singles. One of them is called Flowers. It's a very like artistic kind of themed song.
All right, all right.
A little bit more R&B than what I've provided so far. So it's an interesting new realm for me. Um, but yeah, like I also just really want to do music videos. So there's a local guy, his name's Fenty Films. Um, he's he's a really sick producer, like very artistic, very creative, like thinks outside of the box with everything he does. So that's super inspiring, and I'm gonna kind of be creative director for some videos as well, because I'm also interested in like the whole picture of creation. Like
Yeah,
I like the fashion, I like the music, I like the videos, I like all of it, the performance, the
yeah,
whole piece. So
yeah. What everyone's wearing,
um
the whole nine yards. Yeah,
yeah,
totally get
all of
it.
it.
So
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting you mention, one, videos, and then obviously two, yeah, people just sometimes just listen to songs. Like I think you even hear, some of today's music, and people are just so critical of what a full LP or even an EP looks like. You might be better
Hmm.
just to drop songs. Like let's and I probably, it's popped up for a second in every podcast I've done in the last couple weeks, is that Kanye's album's still not out yet. This dude is
Yeah.
still locked in Atlanta in Mercedes-Benz football arena, that he's still trying to master what his album looks like, and it's like
Hmm.
4 weeks late. It's Kanye, so no shock that it's late, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very interesting. You're kind of going to go down that road and kind of chop it up. So
Hmm.
good for you, and in doing what you want to do, right? So um, yeah, maybe you could kind of share, some of your favorites. I know you kind of gave Mac Miller and Rihanna as some of your inspiration, but who would be, you know, a handful of your favorite MCs?
This is such a big question. It
Yeah.
happens so much. For me, it's always evolving. Like I don't really hold on to like any specific artists. Like my playlist is literally every month it's different, like a whole different mix of like alternative music, jazz, hip hop, R&B, like just everything. Like I try and like fill my ears with just like all kinds of um expression. But in terms of MC specifically, Biggie is probably one of my favorites because his flow is just ridiculous. Like I'm sure many people can
Yep.
agree with that. Um, Definitely. Who else? Who else? A couple of female artists would be Danny Lay
Yep. She's
from
dope.
recently. She's pretty sick. and she can dance too. Like
Hmm.
that's like what I was saying earlier. Like I'm interested in all of it. So when I see someone can do all of it and they're just doing it like because that's genuinely what they love, I vote for that like 100%. Um, who else? Who am I listening to right now? There's a couple like underground people. This guy named Sofago. He has a song called Every Day that I've been listening to because it just has a really interesting like melody.
Hmm.
Um, who else? Yeah, I think those are like the main ones that I'm listening to right now, but there's a lot.
Yeah, there's a
There's just a
lot,
lot.
lot of different ones out there. I know. I normally talk about they're more golden age or golden era guys. You
Hmm.
know, more Rakim and Big Daddy Kane and Nas. That'd be like easily the top three, and then
Yeah.
three. You know, outside that, I would say probably Black Thought and Big L. Like that would round my five. But if I were to kind of give you some new guys, this guy probably would be number one. Benny the Butcher is like
Oh, he's
totally,
crazy.
totally bananas. Like him and the whole Griselda gang is
Yet.
wild. You know, I definitely have taken a liking to obviously J. Cole and Kendrick would definitely, if we're talking newer MCs, would be part of
Hmm.
that collaboration. Um, you know, I probably would say Conway is, and then I've recently started to listen because I think partially because of the new Nas album, I went back and listened to more Boogie with a Hoodie, and he's dope.
Oh yeah.
He's dope. Like, you
Yep.
know, I saw him on a couple things on Netflix over the pandemic and sort of thing. But yeah, he's dope. So actually using the pandemic as a segue, and you talked about, you know, music videos and one of the things you want to do, like how is the pandemic really played into you being an artist? Like how has that been an impact to you?
Um, to be honest, the pandemic made me very introspective, like very, very introspective. Um, obviously, you know, like the stores were closed too. So like I was at the time I was working a lot at Orleans. So I was
Hmm.
alone a lot. And that also added to the introspection. I was playing instrumentals, doing my thing at
Yep.
the same time. Um, but yeah, it's just I think I kinda took a little break from music because I was just so kind of caught up with like trying to think of my own like life situation and like figure some stuff out. Um, and I kind of got like writer's block to be honest, and
Oh,
it was a
really?
little
Okay.
frustrating because a lot of people were like doing the complete opposite, like writing, recording, taking all that time, and like I was writer's block like literally almost the entire pandemic. So that was really frustrating for me.
Hmm.
Um, and I just wanted to create like, but I just couldn't. Like there's no lyrics, and I think it was just maybe just how overwhelming like the whole pandemic was. Maybe that just
Yeah.
blocked it out. I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
yeah,
But now
kind
you're
of.
you're
Yeah.
out, you know, stores are open, you can see the world, you're seeing
Exactly.
faces, and now you're
Yeah.
unleashing music, which is totally dope. So
Yeah.
hey, let's flip over to the other side of how we connected, and we connected because of sneakers. So
Exactly.
how did you kind of get into the sneaker game? You know, give us the scoop of your history with sneakers.
Well, once again, goes all the way back to when I was a little kid. I remember I got, I think it was a pair of like Jordan 1 mids in
Hmm.
Toronto. And I think I was like 8 or 10, like fairly young. And I used to play soccer a lot in the schoolyard. And I wore those mids to school and I went to kick the ball and the whole sole of the shoe just like done, just
Oh
ripped off.
no.
And my like at the time like my family didn't really have enough money to get me like multiple pairs a year, so that pair was it was done and I had to wait a while to get another one. So I just kind of like always said, okay, like when I'm old enough, like I'm gonna get a job, I'm gonna get some nice sneakers, and like I'm gonna build my collection. Like that was just kind of like a little goal for me.
Hmm.
And so as soon as I was in high school, I took co-op and did my first placement like at Normal, and did some
Oh
stock
yeah.
there.
Yeah,
Started getting into sneakers,
yeah.
and yeah, found my way. I was at Aldo for a while, called Spring, and then yeah, and then Foot Locker, Zoomies,
Yeah.
Champs,
Yeah.
all over the retail scene.
All over the retail scene for sure, for
Yeah.
sure. So tell it. You mentioned Jordan 1 mid. So, but what does the collection look like? Is it like a lot of people's? A lot of people's is obviously a lot of Nike. Then I know some people that are at the other end of the spectrum. Their boost is life, and they are Adidas Boost. They're NMDs. They're Yeezys. They're Ultra Boost. Like, what? Or do you kind of play somewhere in the middle? You kind of just get whatever's dope.
I definitely just listen to what I like the most. Tends to usually be 50-50, like Nike and Jordan. I
Hmm.
mean, I guess technically Jordan's under Nike, but
Yeah.
mostly like retros. And then like I'm all about like comfort plus style as well. So like I have a lot of like Vapor Maxes and like Air Max 90 and like 97s and all kinds of just cool colored stuff that I can
Yeah.
find. Um, but definitely recently I've been a lot more into the retros. I'm trying to get one of every one
Yeah.
of every number. So
Yeah, that's a
building it,
process.
building
Yeah,
it.
that's a process for sure. But yeah, that's a good look. Good look.
Yeah,
And
I
and
think
I
I
see.
have,
Go ahead.
sorry, I think I have like 65 pairs,
Okay,
maybe
that's healthy.
something like
That's
that.
healthy. So
Decent. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So and yeah, I would tell you that I looked at your Instagram and you definitely like colors. Like I saw you like with the
Yes.
yellow jacket and I think this I don't know
Oh
this
yeah.
yellow Air Max. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
good on you. So you kind of answered
Definitely.
the question about how many pairs you got. So like, is there a couple in your collection that really stand out, like, or that are 100% your go-to favorites? Like mine, without a doubt, like, and I have like in over time, I have probably 5 pairs of the same
Mm-hmm.
shoe, the same color. Like some are dead stock, some are been worn like into the ground, and I won't get rid of it. Like some like this
Mm-hmm.
like black four or Jordan Cement 4 or bread 4, depending what era you came from, what you call it. But that's like to me, that's the holy grail. Like when I pass away, you better bury me in that shoe. So, what would be a couple of your favorites?
Well, my first pair of like hike shoes, I would say, after that Jordan 1 mid era, um, when I was working at Normal was the 7210s.
Mm. Oh yeah.
And it was my only shoe for like the last 2 years of high school. So I wore that like winter, summer, spring, fall.
Yep.
So that baby is done. But I love that shoe. Like it is covered in salt and like I cleaned it off, but like the sole is completely yellowed. But I just love that shoe. It's gonna stay
Yep.
in my collection. I don't care like how long, it's just gotta stay there because I love that shoe. Um, and my newest favorite would probably be the Lucky Green ones,
Mm, that's a good
Lucky
one.
Green
That's a
Highs.
good one. Yeah. Like, and again,
That one just
dudes wish
popping.
that came in men's sizes because that one is
Oh
fire.
yeah.
Guys were mad upset that that was a women's and a kid's color only. So yeah,
Oh
that's a good
yeah.
one.
I love that shoe. I don't even like to wear it because I don't want to like damage it. Like,
Yep.
I just
This is the season to wear it though. It's
it's so
summer, and
nice.
unless it's raining, like there's no rain forecast, wear your shoes. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I got to.
All right. So, you mentioned, some of your early influences and, this Jordan 1 mid that the sole flew off in in school. And you told us a little bit about, your 7210 that is like, it is truly, it might be the best Jordan 11 as a winter boot because there's no mesh on it. Like
Oh yeah.
it just holds it. And the thing is about the 11s are hot. So
Yep.
in the cold
Very
streets of Ottawa or Toronto or
perfect.
Montreal, it's a good look. It's a good shoe.
Yeah.
Um, so what does the sneaker scene look like in Ottawa? I know I saw a little bit. I've heard lots about Normal. I've been there many
Mhm.
times. I've seen one of a kind kind of pop up. Now we got
Mhm.
a new store in a new Champ store that you work at
Yes.
in Rito Center, which is kind of top shelf. That's where it's all happening. But yeah,
Huge.
what do people wear in general in Ottawa? What would you say from a sneaker culture?
I would say lots of Jordan 1s. Any Jordan 1 you can find, lows, mids, highs, all of it. Um, that has been kind of like the go-to for like the average sneaker enthusiast, I would say.
Hmm.
Um, I see a lot of fours.
Hmm.
Um, mostly it's kind of interesting because a lot of people I find are like buying things resale, kind of like buying things like just random like off-white kind of things or
Okay.
just like fours. I've seen a lot of fours as well.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, like the sneaker scene when I was in high school was I'd say a little less popping than it is now. Like it's kind of
Okay.
growing,
Yep.
definitely growing. I see a lot more people that are becoming interested in it
Gotcha.
versus like because obviously, I mean, there's tons of OGs that are with huge collections that have been sneakerheads forever, kind of thing. But
Yep.
I'm seeing a lot of younger people, like as young as like 8 years old, like being on StockX and being like knowing all the names of the shoes and all the specs and like just really being interested in the culture and like just interested in footwear in general. So it's definitely it's cool. It's just like the music scene, like it's growing. Like they're kind of
Yep.
both growing like hand in hand, but of
Yeah.
course they those two things, hip hop and sneaker culture, kind of go together already. So
Yeah, it's gone together for,
you know,
again, I talked about the hip hop's happy birthday recently, and it's 48
yeah,
years old now, and that they've been like tied at the hip since day one.
exactly, yeah, yeah.
All right, so we're gonna play a fun little game. It's called Copper Pass. So I'm
All
gonna
right.
give you a shoe, and you are going to tell me, will you cop or will you pass? Now, don't really worry about the money. Worry about, do you really like the shoe? I think that's kind of the name of the game. So
Okay.
there's a few shoes. I'm not going to go into 20 shoes, but there's a few fun shoes that are on their way this year or around the corner. So I am going to
Ooh.
give you a few, and you tell me, is it a cop for you? Is it, or is it a pass? If you have availability to, and that's half the battle. Can you get it? Is it available to you? Like, so I'm going to give you a couple. So let's start about this is being recorded on Saturday, August 14th. So this is you cannot talk about this day and not talk about the Jordan 1 pollen. Is that a copper or pass for you?
That was a really hard one because the pictures had a different shade of yellow than
Mm-hmm.
I anticipated. But I've seen a couple more like videos and like some people like in person, and
Yep.
the shade of yellow is a little more mustardy than I would have like
Yep.
wanted, I guess. Because you already mentioned like I like the pop, like I like the bright colors. So
Yep.
if it was more of a like an electric yellow, I probably would have copped, but I might have to pass.
Okay.
I don't want to pass, but
Yep.
like I
So
might have
it's
to.
funny you
I don't
say
know,
that
it's 50 50.
about the color, because it is more mustardy than it is yellow.
Yeah.
Like, you would be more so uh the Iowa, or it's one of the OG colors of
Hmm.
the dunk that came out in recent years, when you've seen that,
Yes.
dunks are such a massive thing now, but and all the old OG colors. So there's gray and red, which is UNLV, or gold and navy blue, they call it maize. That's like
Yeah, those
Michigan.
ones.
There's a
Hmm.
white and green, that's Michigan State. There's white and orange,
Hmm.
that's Syracuse. So those are the OG, and that one in particular like sticks out way more because it's truly like yellow versus it is gold. So okay.
Yes.
Okay. So
So that makes sense.
sticking to bright colors, we have another bright yellow shoe. Jordan 4 Lightning. Is that a copper or pass for you?
This one's hard too.
Okay.
I I do not like the combination of gray and yellow together.
Yeah.
So, and I only have one pair of fours, to be honest. I have the UNC fours,
Hmm.
and I am awaiting to get another pair of fours. I am mad
Okay.
that I missed out on the black cats,
Yeah.
but I did, so I just gotta let that one go. Um, so I'm gonna have to pass on those two, but like, I don't know, they just gotta get the color combo right for me. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Okay. It's good to see that you're selective and you're not just jumping on what the hype beasts are saying, because the hype beasts are
Yeah.
all over those two shoes. So
Oh, I know.
interesting you mentioned fours. So there is a Jordan 4 women's shimmer that comes out in September. Is that a copper or pass for you?
Probably a cop.
All right, because you said you needed a pair of fours. So
Yes.
interesting, and I don't know why this shoe is getting so much love, and they're actually doing it again. So I think it's about 7 or 8 years ago it came out the first time at like on Black Friday. It's coming out again. It's the Jordan 5 Oreos. So it's like all black upper, but the midsole is white. Would that be a cop or would that be a pass for you?
Um, I don't know. Like I have a few pairs of Jordan 5s.
Hmm.
Let me see what this one looks like. I haven't seen this one yet.
And it's not even like an OG
Oh,
color. It was like a
I
color they
see.
made, and I think it came out in like 2013. And it's like, yeah, it's Oreo. You know, they called this Jordan 1 or Jordan 4 that came out earlier this year was, white and gray, and they called that white Oreo. And it's like, it's not Oreo. Oreo is black and,
Yeah.
you know, whitish, grayish. So that can pass as Oreo, but you cannot call it a white Oreo. You don't get Oreo cookies that are with a
No.
white cookie. So it was a totally, the name just said, I'm not even interested. I actually dislike it. Never mind even remotely be interested. You see it?
Yes, I do. I if I didn't have like a I don't really have black. Hmm, interesting. I don't know. I don't really need another pair of Jordan
Yeah.
5s, but I yeah. Hmm.
Maybe.
Maybe if the side was black instead of the white there.
Yeah. That's what throws a lot of people, that it's not black, it's white.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Like I like the white sole with the little touch of speckles there.
yeah.
But yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know about that side. I have to be picky. I
Yeah.
have to.
That's
Gotta
okay.
make my collection, you know?
So let's say that it's a pass. So
Yeah.
I got three more for you, and we're gonna just stay on this Jordan vein right now.
Okay.
So there's another Jordan 4 that comes out later this year. It's the Jordan Red Thunder 4. So if you remember the Thunder, which actually matches the Lightning 4 that comes out this year, the sole it's all black. The sole is yellow, or the in on the Thunder, but this one is red. So scroll a little further. It launches on October 2nd. Um, to me, not feeling it. It's like they tried too hard with this one to make something else with that kind of color makeup, and then the mesh in behind, or the backing in behind the mesh is like red. So some people love it. I think some people are, oh, I can't wait to buy this one. But this is not the Lightning, the Thunder 4 from before. So to me, this is a pass, but it's not about me. It's about you. What would you say? Is this a copper or pass for you? Oh, that face says it all.
Um
Viewers, if you're watching on YouTube, you will see the face she made. Her eyes didn't jump out of her head and say, like, with hearts. It was not a love. I would that the look said it all. That is a hard pass. Am I right?
yeah, I think so. I mean, these are a shoe I'd have to see in person, to be
Yeah.
honest. Like I it could even be one that I would get and like be not sure, and
Yeah.
then depends on the outfit.
Yep. If you could style this one up properly and
Hmm.
definitely make it work. Okay, I got two more. So A lot of people like Jordan 1s. You told us it's kind of a big thing in Ottawa. I
Hmm.
think beyond the pollen, there is and it's probably going to be a little bit more limited. There's an OG bred for or banned for, whatever you want to call it, but it's patent leather. Um,
Oh.
Scroll down to, I see you got your app open. Scroll down to October 23rd. Is that one a copper or pass for you?
Mm. Hmm.
The patent leather
I
is the key piece to this one. So it looks like the OG one, but it's patent leather. So it's going to stand out.
I think this one would be a cop for me.
Yep. Yeah.
I have the black and gold highs,
Yep.
so I like the patent leather.
Okay. So you can work with that. All right. Some people are totally
I
against
like
patent
it.
leather on a shoe.
I
So
know.
yeah, but
I
you rock
know.
7210, so you should be good. So the last one
I
I
like
have,
it.
yeah, the last one I got, speaking of 11s, we'll wrap up the year. It's going to be the holiday shoe of the season, is the Jordan 11 Cool Gray. Is that a cop or a pass for you?
That's a hard cop for sure.
Hard cop. All right. Yeah, because I think if
That
you
is, oh my
don't
God.
have that one, and it's been out a couple times, but if you don't have it by now, you just can't keep living life and not have that one. It's not an everyday
Literally.
wear, it's a special occasion and people know you have it on. So
Oh yeah. That's
totally
like
agree.
I'm wearing some nice jeans,
Yep.
maybe going to an art opening or something.
There you go. There you go. You're styling
Style
it
it up.
already. You just gotta wait till that time comes. So interesting.
I'm
You kind
waiting.
of were humming and hawing about some of these shoes. So I think you even mentioned there was one. I think we were talking with the Thunder 4, the red one, and if it had the right outfit,
Hmm.
and you could make it work. So is there a time that you passed on a shoe and now you regret not buying it?
Like I said earlier, definitely the Black Hat Forest.
Okay.
Also, I think they were called the Thunder 12s. I
Yep.
really like 12s.
Yeah. Oh, you do? Okay.
I do. I don't know, it kind of looks like waves, and like I have waves all in my tattoos.
Yep.
So I like water a lot, and it's a big part of my culture too. Um, but yeah, like those shoes, I tried to get to the Rito Center in time, and I did not get there in time, and my pair got sold, and
Oh
I'm
my
very
gosh.
sad.
Oh no.
I see people wearing it, and I'm like, ah, like man, I
Hurts
wanted
your
that
soul.
shoe.
Yep.
It does. So
Oh,
yeah, those two.
yeah. There's
That's
always the
two for sure.
resale market, but sometimes that's just a bitter pill to swallow. Like if you really
Oh
wanted
man.
something, you just can't do it sometimes because sometimes they're selling them for 3 and 4 times the amount. And you know they're robbing you, but you
Oh
see
yeah.
what you want and it's there and you kind of just have to swallow your pride and say that I'm not gonna own it. And
No,
that's
you just
sometimes
can't.
that's hard sneaker love that you got to put on yourself. So um
For sure.
so I'm gonna ask you one question about maybe you going on a hunt to find a shoe. Is there a
Okay.
sneaker hunt story that you might have? I think people that love sneakers always love to hear is where is a time that someone had to go to great lengths to get a shoe?
Actually for the black and gold highs, I used to work at Rito. So one of my friends texted me saying like, okay, like they're out now, so you gotta come now, like right now.
Yeah.
And I was like, I what was I doing? I think I was in like the far south because like my boyfriend's parents' house is like really far, like basically near Greeley. Um, we had to drive like all the way, and we had plans, and we went all the way through like rush hour traffic, and like tried to get there in time, and then they sold my size, so I had to get a half size too big for myself and run through the
Mm.
Westin. Like he parked in the Westin parking like area place.
Oh, I know, because that's where I parked when I was there.
Yeah. And I had to run through the hotel, like run through the center, go down and get my pair. So that was
Yeah,
definitely a mission. Um, and I had to also force my boyfriend to come with me as well. Be like,
yeah,
it's worth it, please. I need the shoe. So yeah, that was an adventure for both of us for sure.
yeah. So do you think, and this is always an interesting question, when you have people that are not in sneaker cultures, I don't know if your boyfriend is or not, but when you're telling someone that you need the shoe or you're rushing somewhere or I need to be on my phone at a certain time to be on an app, like what's the reaction? Like, do people get it?
No, they don't. If I'm being honest, they don't. Like he definitely appreciates nice shoes for sure. And especially like when we like first started talking, like that was a big point, was like, wow, you have a lot of shoes, like a lot of nice shoes too. Like that's cool. Like that's different. Like
Yeah.
especially like not that many girls like have big collections too. So it's kind of like, wow. Um, but yeah, like I don't think like my mom, oh my goodness. Every time I come home with a bag,
Yep.
she's like,
Oh,
what are
I've been
you
there.
doing now?
Oh, I've been
Like,
there.
oh, but now that I live alone, it's like, don't you have a rent to pay? And I'm like,
Yeah.
it's okay, I can afford it. It's both,
Yeah.
like
All right.
make it work. So yeah.
So again, Eberly, I really appreciate you, or Eberlyn, excuse me, or we'll call you LB for just short. Really appreciate you being on the podcast. But you've touched on it
Yeah.
a couple times, and I think I would love to, just because of the times and because of who you are and the city you live in, So you talk about your tattoos and your indigenous heritage. So you know
Mhm.
tell us a little bit more about um, you growing up in. I'm not sure if you grew up exactly in the Ottawa area, but you know, growing up in this country, and obviously we're seeing all the things that are happening, that are
Mhm.
being turned up, which is extremely unfortunate and
Mhm.
disheartening. But maybe give us your perspective.
Um, I mean, I'm like part Mohawk and I'm also Dutch.
Okay.
So I also grew up in Ottawa my whole life, fairly detached from like my, I guess, like traditional culture. And even my band, like I haven't even been able to like visit my reserve yet. Um, just because like thankfully my papa soda, like my grandfather never had to attend like a residential school or anything like that. But he definitely did face like a lot of the racism like growing up, to the point where he did not show his indigenous identity at all. Like he basically just said like, I'm not indigenous, like his entire life, and kind of kept it under wraps, literally for his own safety. So like that for me and my dad as well. Like my dad was probably the first person in my family to start like um kind of exploring his own identity and like trying to like rekindle it a bit. Just because like it was just so different. Like even just a couple years ago, like 20 years ago, like just being indigenous in Canada or being indigenous like anywhere in the world, it was just not like, it's not something cool.
Yeah, it
But
wasn't it wasn't accepted you
no.
know like it should be, right? Like, you know,
Hmm.
go look at the history books. The indigenous was
Yeah.
here first. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
amazing that your tattoos and you're another generation, after your father, that is really embracing being
Hmm.
indigenous. And yeah, again, it's totally unfortunate of what is happening, but to hear that you're connecting with, and you've gone to community center, and that's where you kind of connected with your producer that does some of your beats. I think it's a good look, and I hopefully you
Hmm.
can encourage a lot more indigenous people to connect with their culture. I
Hmm.
think one of the reasons that I think in sharing and your story and your and some of the things you've been through, whether it's through your music or otherwise, I think it really helps others, start to have that reflection because not a lot of people do. And I think even as a black person in Canada, and it's not the same as being Indigenous, but yeah,
Hmm.
being proud of who you are because, you know, un- that's who you are. It's not unfortunate. That is reality who
Yeah.
you are and embracing. And I think
Yeah.
what has happened, in the world in the last couple years between, the Asians and the Indigenous and being black in Canada or in North America, I says is saying a lot, but I think we can connect, as different cultures together because again, Canada is
100%.
one of those countries that really allows that, and there's more,
Hmm.
more ways we can come together than trying to just separate. But I think there's definitely some areas of our country that need to be magnified and addressed, and
Hmm.
and hopefully you can continue to do some of the amazing things that you're doing. So really appreciate your time and for you being on. So obviously, you've talked about your music and your sneaker collection, so I'm sure we have a lot of listeners very interested. How do people find you? Where are you on social platforms, Instagram, etc.? How do people find you if you could let the people know?
So everything is just Elberlyn. Like literally my first name, Elberlyn, should be in the title. Yeah, you can literally just Google Elberlyn. You're gonna see me bike racing because I used to race BMX for eight
Oh,
years. So
dope.
you're gonna see all those stats. You're gonna see all my music. You're gonna see my shows. I think there's a few performance videos online. There's a lot of stuff online.
Yeah,
But yeah, so you can Google me. You can
yeah.
Instagram, Facebook, whatever
Okay.
works.
One shot, Eberlin, just like that.
Yeah,
So again, thank you so much for your time. I'm actually going to go look at some of this BMX stuff now because that I
nice.
didn't know either. I think as we get to
Yeah,
talk and we learn more, and I look forward to being back in Ottawa in about 6 weeks or so because I know you guys have done a great job in with your new store. So
thank
again,
you.
thank you so much for your time, for sharing. I think people will be really really happy to hear you talk and share with your friends as this becomes public. I think it's probably going to be Monday when we get to
Okay,
the point of sharing it. But thank you, listeners,
awesome.
for listening. Again, another episode of Sneaks, Rhymes, and Life. I'm your host, and we had LB, otherwise known as Eberlyn, on. So take care, be safe, and until the next episode. Bye for now.
Thank you so much for having me. Bye.